What's good? It's Woog. Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia is now official for April 22nd, Showtime pay-per-view, Las Vegas, but the venue to be decided. But now we've got the date and all parties have agreed and signed to it. You know, they were reporting, and I think it was a Michael Benson tweet that I saw that said, "Fights on," and I see, the date. But then I see that there's reporting that Gervonta Davis is the one who announced it on Twitter. So then I'm like, wait a second. No. I'm not about to get excited over nothing again. Especially after, there was the Mike Coppinger reporting when everybody there was a Friday where we thought we were going to get Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford, heading into the weekend. But then you unpeel it. It's like, wait, no. Like the material terms were agreed to. And there's just that whole gray area that is still short of it actually being official. So I'm like, wait a second. No. Gervonta Davis. Okay, that's cool. But I feel like I've seen between these two specifically near announcements before. But then a little bit later, I saw a Steven Espinosa of Showtime, tweet on top of that saying it's official. So, and then I start seeing Boxing Scene and other reputable sites or reporters, basically echoing it. They're echoing the date, the Showtime pay-per-view, that the fight is official. So now it's not agreed to. Now they're not still finalizing details, all that language that we see. It looks like it's on April 22nd. And I still, I think it was Karma Serene who said on Twitter, I'll believe it when I see a flyer. And I get it. I feel very similar about that. But for all intents and purposes, it looks like this fight is going down. We'll see what the actual venue is. But one of the best fights and most exciting fights that can be made in boxing. Looks like it's official and it's crazy. There's a lot. I mean, more people feel like Gervonta Davis is going to win it, I presume, than believe that Ryan Garcia is going to win it. We'll see the actual betting odds, but I'd imagine it's going to be Gervonta Davis at a minus something, somewhere between maybe around a minus 150 to 175. That's just a guess. Maybe it's already up. But I feel like Gervonta Davis, given his experience and just his overall track record, explosiveness wise, his knockout ratio, and just the fact that even in the fights where he's been, losing a few rounds in a fight, he ends up scoring the knockout along the way. Isaac Cruz fight notwithstanding, although I feel like he noticeably hurt his left hand in that fight and didn't use it for multiple rounds towards the middle and end of the fight. He just stopped using the left hand pretty much altogether and ended up edging a decision. But aside from that, he's been, one of the more destructive forces pound for pound in the sport. But there's this is going to be at a catch weight of 136. So this is just a pound above lightweight, which I think favors Gervonta Davis. Ryan Garcia was at lightweight, but if you look at his last two fights, he was fighting at around 140 against Javier Fortuna and in the fight before that against Emmanuel Tego. So him basically having to go down to nearly 135 for the first time since he fought Luke Campbell, that favors Gervonta Davis. But one of my concerns here is I see an improvement of Ryan Garcia that I feel isn't being fully acknowledged. And I feel like it's not being acknowledged because of his opponent by opponent schedule. So you had Emmanuel Tego, who's a smaller guy who was basically going up more than one division to fight Ryan Garcia. And then you had Javier Fortuna, who had his best days at featherweight, 126. Who did fairly well at 130, but was out of his depths at 135, and then is fighting Ryan Garcia at 140. So I get the cynicism or skepticism in how much Ryan Garcia has proved to date. But if we're just looking at it from a skills standpoint, I'll tell you some things that I saw in his last couple fights that I wasn't seeing earlier. I saw his confidence in throwing a right hand, not that signature left hook that we know he can knock anybody out with. I mean, that's a concern with Gervonta Davis being the smaller guy having to come into the pocket, right? It's that Ryan Garcia's got that hair trigger left hook. And I think a lot of people think that that's a strong possibility that that's going to be the determinant in this fight. But what I'm seeing in his recent fights is a greater use of his right hand. I mean, he's throwing several right hand leads against Javier Fortuna. And granted, Javier Fortuna is smaller, but Ryan Garcia was still using it repeatedly. I hadn't seen anybody control range against Javier Fortuna in the way that Garcia was able to. And I see a greater use of his jab and just more authority in his jab. His defense is getting a little bit better. I think that his chin is up in the air a little bit less. He's still, looking to be front foot heavy, looking to apply, patient pressure, I will call it. But jab-wise, use of his right hand, just situational awareness, I feel like he is, vastly better than he was at the time he was having a difficult fight. Majority decision win over Carlos Morales. This is a different Ryan Garcia, even if we're just talking, 4 years removed since that. And it's not like Garcia's been super active either, although he did fight twice in 2022. That was a promising sign. But yeah, I'm just glad that now we finally get Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia. I'm going to do a kind of just an overarching, kind of like an early preview, and then I'll do like a thorough preview as we near the fight date. But I just wanted to react to the initial news. And look, if I had to go with my gut right here, I feel like I'm still slightly leaning Gervonta Davis. However, I feel like there's a strong likelihood that Ryan Garcia starts racking up some slow rounds, to borrow a term from online boxing analyst Richard Dwyer. But I think that because of the height dynamic, because of the reach, and because, Gervonta Davis is a pretty patient fighter. I mean, we've seen Rolly Romero win multiple rounds, Hector Garcia, Mario Barrios, and not that these guys aren't good fighters. They'll win several rounds against a lot of fighters, but we've just kind of seen a pattern that because Gervonta Davis isn't always high volume, some rounds he's higher volume than others, and he's a shorter and patient, skillful fighter, he tends to lose multiple rounds in several fights. So I could see Ryan Garcia maybe not controlling the fight with his jab, but because he's developing a two-fisted attack, that he could be hitting Gervonta Davis from the outside, where it puts the pressure on Davis to have to make a move, essentially. I think Ryan Garcia could rack up some of those non-eventful rounds. And he's going to have to, I think, get the right hand going a little bit because he's facing a southpaw. I don't think he's going to be as comfortable throwing it as he was against Javier Fortuna, though. So that part, it's one thing to start developing confidence in letting your right hand go. It's another thing to reliably deploy it confidently when you're fighting somebody who can make you pay in the way that Gervonta Davis can. So yeah, I can't wait to further analyze this one. Again, I think I'm slightly leaning Gervonta Davis, just gut feeling, but we'll do a thorough analysis, a greater look at both fighters and their styles as we near the fight date. But yeah, give me your thoughts on the fight finally being made. I feel like this one's been teased for, multiple years, essentially, in terms of how long they've now been going back and forth through social media. This is, kind of the one that we wanted, right? And there had been enough, build up and expressed interest from both fighters that we felt like there was a fighting chance that this fight could actually get made. And now, props to all parties involved, the promoters of both, the platforms of both fighters, to resolve this through negotiations so it brings the fight to the fans. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments. Who are you going with in your early estimations here? Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.